Welcome to part 2 of the Roslyn Druck Lifelong Education Series, Writing the Letter to Your Family, Leaving a Legacy of Love.
Thanks, John. Thank you. Beautiful. Part of this series is born of the love that we have. Love is the flip side of loss. We wouldn't grieve if we hadn't loved. So we honor those that have passed, even today. And I want to honor all of you who were close to the people who have passed, who are grieving, whose hearts are hurting a little bit tonight. And my hope and prayer is to both honor and respect that's you have a little bit of a heavy heart as you come in tonight to talk about writing the letter. But at the same time, to acknowledge the love that you feel. Your grief wouldn't be there without the love that you felt for Bernie and others. So we honor them, their families, those who are struggling, as we move forward and do some of the things in honor of them. And one of the things that we do in honor of those we've lost is to do good things in their name. It's in our tradition, it's in our DNA to do that. One of the good things that came out of our last program was that we need to act. We need to do things while we are here. We need to take action. We need to be courageous and bold and direct, and that there are things that we can do here. And while we're here, not to sit on our hands, but to take action that brings even greater love. So tonight we're going to talk about an idea that really came up in our last program. Writing the letter, and we all know it can be writing a letter, but it can also be making a video. It can be anything in any medium, but it's doing something that's an expression of our love, our gratitude, and our desire for those people we love to go forward in the most positive of ways, knowing what we wanted, knowing how we feel and what we think. I want to start tonight by giving you a demonstration of a letter. This is a letter. It's probably the most remarkable letter that I've ever received or witnessed. It's a letter written by my angel daughter. Some of you know that I have an earth daughter and an angel daughter. And they are the joy of my life, both of them. And 2 weeks before my angel daughter flew away, she was in an accident in India that some of you are aware of, while studying abroad. She decided to sit down. She was in Africa, and she decided to sit down and write a letter to her family. And this was her letter. This is a letter to everyone in my family. Mommy, Daddy, Steffi, Grandma and Grandpa, Bubby. That's what she called my mother, Roz. Grandpa Jack, who was still alive. Bert, her aunt, Joe, David, and Scott, her cousins. I'm in South Africa right now, and I've just had the most incredible day of my whole life. And I feel so complete and so a part of the world around me. I feel so complete and so a part of the world around me. I have visited such incredible places, it's almost unreal. Not incredible like Hawaii or Cancun or Europe, but places that make me feel human and connected to what's happening around me. And as I encounter these feelings and people and cultures, I cannot help but reflect on my own background and my own roots. I want my whole family, and she underlines whole, to know how much I love all of you and how proud I am to be a part of this family. I know that I am crossing that road in my life where I am no longer a child. And I'm soon going to be going out into the real world where time is fast and busy, even more so than now. But I want you all to know how much a part of my heart you are. I want you all to know how much of a part of my heart you are. I take you with me in all of my travels, my journeys, and my discoveries. I see such a pride in family in these other cultures I have visited. And even though these people have nothing in terms of monetary objects, they have the priceless value of pride and strength in their family and their backgrounds. So as I visit with these people, I have reaffirmed my own path in what is real and who I am and where I came from. And this is all of you. My family is the greatest love I know, and I will always be tied to. I love you all and miss you incredibly. Loving you always, Jenna. So we're here to talk about the letter. What is the letter? And some of us have heard about and talked about ethical wills and things like this. This has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with assets we're leaving behind. It has to do with this asset and this asset called loving relationships. It's the greatest, most priceless thing we can value in this life. It ensures a legacy of love. That's what we want to do. We want to take out some insurance tonight. We buy insurance, why? Why do we buy life insurance? Not because we're planning on dying soon. We buy life insurance because we want to live in peace, in the peace of knowing what? That if something and when something does happen, all the people that we love are going to be taken care of. They will know our love. It's an expression of our love that lasts beyond our lifetime. So we're talking tonight about an expression of our love and what we can do. And many of us have already done this, and we're looking for other ways to do it. What are the things we can do that's an expression of our love even beyond our own lifetime? It's a declaration in writing or video of your abiding love, a statement of your gratitude. And we're going to get to it. We're going to be talking about how to put this letter together. But these are some of the elements of it. It should be a statement of your gratitude. What greater gift can we give than our gratitude, than to look at the people we love and say, I want to tell you all the things that I'm grateful for. And you can do that. It's not only somebody you love who's in your family. It could be the person sitting next to you tonight. It could be the people that you have breakfast with in the morning. It's a helpful and humble explanation, not a justification, rationalization, or excuse making of what you said, what you did, or chose not to do. So what we're talking about, writing a letter, we're talking about an opportunity for you to clearly explain yourself, to tell a little bit of your story and what you're about, so that people would have an understanding of you, what you've done, what you haven't done. It's a sharing of your cherished values, principles, and truths, things that meant the most to you, the things that you lived by, the values, the principles, the ideals, the dreams, the visions that you had. It's a kind and thoughtful walkthrough of how you distributed your assets. You might, in this letter, say, I want to explain something to you. I've made some decisions about who gets my hat. I know when my mother passed, she had 1,000 scarves. Does anybody remember my mother's scarves? It's like, Mom, and she said, I want you to give them to the people I love, as many as you see and whatever. But it was like, Mom, what do we do with your scarves? What do we do? What do we do? And so there was an opportunity to communicate. And it wasn't about death. It wasn't morbid. It was about life. It was about life going on. We belong to the ages, don't we? Some people say, are we human beings having a spiritual experience, or are we spiritual beings having a brief human experience? You know, these are the questions of life. But we belong to something so much bigger than this time that we are here. We belong to the ages. We belong to the enormity of whatever this life is. It's an opportunity to heal old wounds. So what else is writing the letter? It's an opportunity to heal. It's an opportunity to make amends, to apologize, to leave things with your family and the people you love in a better place. You know, if I said to each one of you, there's something that you can do tonight, I want you to think about what it might be and who it might be with. Something you haven't said or done with somebody you care deeply about, that if God forbid something had happened to you in the next couple of days, they would have a heavy heart, because it would still be sitting on their heart that there was never a conversation. There was never an attempt to heal or to make things right. Whose heart could you lighten by telling them you forgive them, or you let go of something that you've been carrying for a long time? Whose heart could you make lighter? So this might be an opportunity to think about that. And lastly, a clear statement of your prayers, your wishes, your hopes, your requests, and your desires for the future. It's like, here's what I'd love to, it would give me peace to know this is what I'd like to have happen going into the future. And if it's happening while I'm here, that's even better. You don't have to wait until I'm gone. Let's do it now. Let's enjoy it. Let me enjoy the satisfaction of seeing and bringing this about now. Okay? Are we okay? Are we doing all right so far? Okay, now sending the letter, there are some rules and guidelines I want to get to right away. And can everybody see enough? I know you can't see over here, but okay. So the first and foremost, this letter is an opportunity to get all your thoughts and feelings out of here and out of here, where you can see them, to put them in front of you, where you can really say, this is the way I've been thinking. This is the way I think. This is the way I feel. Not only where you can see them, where they can add to the richness of your life, where you can communicate them. But let's talk about how you communicate them. Because if you ever had anybody in here besides me ever feel like writing something and saying something to somebody and you just blurted it out and it wasn't good timing and you probably should have said a little less, the tone wasn't right, it might have been too critical or a little too angry, it might have been a little judgmental, and you should have counted to 10. Anybody else besides me ever do that? Okay. So what we want to do is temper what we're thinking about writing. How do we do that? Take your time. Your letter is a work in progress. You don't have to finish it today or tomorrow. You start writing it. Take your time in sifting through the thoughts and feelings you have as you write. And in time, you may decide you want to add something because a light bulb goes on. It's like, boy, I forgot something else I want to say while I'm thinking about it. You might want to take something out that has a rough or sharp edge that could hurt somebody. It's like, no, I don't want to say that. Or I have to say, I have to figure out how to say that differently, because that could cut and hurt somebody. I don't want to say that. You might soften the words and the tone. I can't tell you how many times I needed to communicate something very important to my family, and I pass it in front of my daughter, who's my editor, and I'll say, Steph, would you, just raise your hand, say hello. Here's Steffi, my daughter. And I'll say, Steph, would you look at this and take the sharp edges out of it? I want to soften this. I want this to be effective. And she says, Dad, take that word out. It's a little heated. It's going to escalate things. You don't really need to say that to make your point. And she's my editor. So it always helps to have an editor. And you might want to show it to somebody and say, how do you like this? Is there anything in this that you feel could be improved or strengthened? Your letter is an expression of love and gratitude, never one of punishment. This letter is not an I got you. It's not, here's my resentment. Now I'm going to get you, or I'm going to catch you. I'm going to beat you up a little bit for what you didn't do or what you did do. It's comparable to being, I'm going to prosecute you. It's like putting them in a courtroom without a defense attorney, a judge, or a jury. You're just you prosecuting them from where, who knows where they can't even respond to you because you're gone or you're unavailable. We never want to leave that kind of a message. We never want to send a message that shows righteousness, favoritism. These are all passive-aggressive ways of telling people we're angry. And we want to find constructive ways. If we're angry, that's okay. Sometimes we're hurt and we're angry. That's part of being human. But we want to express it in a way that people learn, that brings people together, that doesn't tear people apart or our families apart. Your letter is ideally to be shared while you're here, while you and your loved ones are alive. This way you can enjoy all the benefits of open communication, all the benefits of the intimate sharing. And we're going to talk about what those benefits are in a little while. But I want you, as a last best practice, to think about this. Think outside the box, because this letter can also be written to somebody who's already passed. I drove down on I-5, and who do you suspect I was talking to? I was alone in the car. Roz. I looked out over the Pacific Ocean. Did anybody see the sunset tonight? The sky opened up, and you know how that light sometimes pours out in lines, in streams onto the ocean? And my mother used to love that. She would love the sunset like that. So I said, Mom, are you trying to tell me something? I looked out. I even took a picture of it. I won't tell you that I took it while I was driving. I know you didn't hear that. But I looked out and I felt like my mother was reaching out. She said, have a wonderful talk. Give my love to all my friends at Seacrest. I adore them, and I think it's wonderful that you're doing this. So sometimes we write a letter to somebody who's already passed. Sometimes we write a letter to our family of the future. Have you ever seen these things where people put messages in time capsules? You could write a letter to your family 150 years from now and put it in a time capsule with your children. Say, would you open this? This is not to be opened, or it's to be opened every 50 years in the family. Would you pass this forward in our family? So it could be you could be writing to the future. Or you could even write something to yourself. It's like, I'm going to send a letter to myself in heaven. Here are some things I want to remember. If there is something that happens beyond this, here's what I want me to know. Here's what I want me to remember about what I went through in this life. Here's what's most important. Okay? So Best practices are very important. But what's the secret sauce? Why does all this work? Because there are people who argue and would argue, some things are better left unsaid. Right? The money should say it all. I'm giving them enough money, right? Enough jewelry. What else do you want from me? Why should I rock the boat? And lastly, this is only going to open a can of worms. Why let the cat out of the bag? So there are those who would argue that openness, this act of openness, courage, trust, vulnerability, and truth-telling has its risks and dangers, and we shouldn't do it. This is dangerous. I'm asking you to do something dangerous with tremendous risk. But what are the rewards? The rewards are increased intimacy and fun, closeness, connection, trust, loyalty, and love in our families and in our close relationships. Increase the possibility of healing, forgiveness, gratitude, renewal. Better decision making, because when we're communicating and we've cleared the air in our families, then we work together. We make better decisions, don't we? We talk things through instead of having all these roadblocks or all these areas where we don't dare touch that subject. Don't bring that up. Because you know what happens when we bring that subject up? It's a surefire way to get into what? An ugly family fight. We have the same argument. You don't hear me, I don't hear you. You're on this side, I'm on that side, and we just bump heads. But better decision making, coordination, and more orderly transition towards a new season of life. How many families are left in chaos at the point of somebody losing somebody, or when somebody is in decline? The family's in chaos because what? Because nobody has communicated. So you're being asked to summon an extra layer. At age whatever you are, you're being asked to summon more courage, and a different kind of courage than you've ever been asked to summon before. You have faced seasons of life where it required courage. How many people in here got married? Okay. How many people in here took a job? How many people in here had children? How many people in here, their children left the nest? Okay, and so on and so forth. How many people in here turned 50 or 60 or 70 or 80? Should I keep going? 90. Those are transitions, or I call them horizons. We get to those horizons, and what do we need more than anything? We need courage. We need courage to face the challenges of that new season of life. To believe in ourselves, to have the faith and the strength and the courage to go forward. Step number 1. And by the way, these are just samples. I wrote some things down that might be in your step number 1, but you're the one who's going to determine. So step number 1 is the statement of positive intent. Don't you like it when somebody starts a conversation with you and they say, Susan, I wanted to talk to you. I love you so much. You're one of my mom's dearest friends, and I'm so glad to have a chance to talk over lunch. That's my opening statement. If I was a lawyer, that would be my opening. As a friend, the statement of positive intent. Here's what I want. I want to catch up. I want to hear everything that's been going on. And it's so important in any letter you're writing to start on what? A positive note. A positive, a good faith intention. Here's what I want to come out of this. So I wrote a few of them down. I'm writing in hopes of telling you how much I love you. I'm writing in hopes of making peace with you, in hopes of asking for your forgiveness, in hopes our family will take the high road going forward and treat one another with kindness, in hopes of ironing out all the wrinkles in our family, and so on and so forth. All right? Do you get number one? You start positively. Let's go to number two. What result do you want? I think it's always good to tell people, the reason. Here's what a good outcome would be for me. So I'll go back to Susan again. So I want to leave here feeling like I've caught up on everything that's going on in your life. And then I'll feel a sense of connection because too much time has passed. Okay? So I state what my desired result is. I'm hoping our family can go on from this day with kindness in our hearts. It would give me peace to know that you will continue our family traditions and gatherings. Let's go to number 3. Opening up about the past. Now this is very sensitive because we want to do it, and again, in a way that is constructive, that builds intimacy, not fragments and shatters people. Okay? So when we talk about this, opening up about the past, again, it's important. The positive past. I'm most proud of what in the past? What's given me the greatest joy, and it helps to start talking about ourselves here, in the past has been what? Even being honest and vulnerable and saying what's weighed most heavily on my heart. You think that might be interesting for some of our family members to hear? To know some of the secrets or things that we've held so close, but suddenly they're revealed to us. If I could have asked my own father, Dad, what weighed most heavily on your heart? Or what made your heart sing? What happened in our family or in our lives that just made your heart sing? It brought you the greatest happiness in this life. If I could have known that, what valuable information that would have been during his lifetime, or even in the time since he passed, to know that about my father. The experience of knowing and understanding another human being is the basis for love. It's the basis for connection. It's the basis for creating meaning. And it's the basis and foundation of intimacy. The intimacy that transcends loneliness, that transcends some of the most harsh and difficult challenges of this life. And here are some others. What I've realized, what are the revelations? What are the things you've realized over the course? Do you think that might be interesting to share with your family members? Here are some of the things that over the years I've realized that are important. That sage wisdom that you carry about what's really important, about mistakes you've made, about things that you would do differently if you had a chance. Those are all the richness of life lessons that you carry. And when we look around for how can I be relevant in the life of my children and my grandchildren, my family members, my close friends, it's that richness that we share of who we are at the deepest level, of what we care about, what we cherish, what we've learned, that humility that we bring and that vulnerability that we bring, that adds to the richness. I know it does in this community. So it's not only a conversation about the letter with our families, it's a conversation about the quality of life that we collectively create at Seacrest because of the choices we make to be honest and direct and open with one another without sharp edges, and to be forgiving with one another, right? Let's go to step number 4, opening up about the present. So we have the past, the present, and the future. And opening about the present is talking about life right now. It's the here and now. And what do we want to say about our here and now? Bringing it into real time. And here I just wrote down some of the things. These days, my greatest challenges are, my biggest fears right now. At this time in my life, I take great assurance from knowing what? Okay? So these are all, again, invitations. These are just some of my thoughts, but you write down in your letter what feels most relevant to you. What gives me hope is knowing what? In the future. It would hurt my heart if our family what? And this is you talking about the future. It's saying what you want. It's saying what would give you a sense of peace to know. Okay? It's expressing your desires going into the future, whether you're there or not. It's telling your family what means the most to you. What excites me most about the future, because they want to hear what you're most excited about. You know, whether I'm here or not, I would want to see my grandchild, you know, who plays soccer with the little kids now, playing in the Olympics. What excites me most about the future is the possibility that this and that and so on. When you think of me in the future, please try to imagine what? How do you want to be thought of in the future? Have you expressed that? Okay? How do you want to be thought of? You know, I think about that. When people talk about me, and where I think about my mother, what would my mother want, what would she have said if I'd said, Mom, what do you want to be? I'm going to be at Seacrest. We're going to give this Roslyn Druck series, and I'm going to mention your name. What do you want to be most thought of? And she would say several things, I think. She would say, I continued to be curious my whole life. I was a lifelong learner. I was always curious to learn more. My curiosity, I kept my curiosity alive. My desire to know more. My desire to engage people on an intimate level rather than just superficial. My mother loved that. She loved to get into stuff with everybody. Sometimes too much on the argument side. She was very oppositional and she would confront issues. But those are some of the things, and I think she'd say, I want you to remember my laugh, my laughter, the joy that I had, the great joy that I had. I delighted in so many of the good things of life. I would want you to know that. And she would include food in that. Okay, so opening up about the future and your closing statement in the letter. In summary, I want you all to know what? And this is like the last paragraph of a letter, right? It's the summary of what you want to say. It brings everything that you've said together. And I just wrote down some things. I love you with all my heart. I'm so grateful to you for the times we've had together. What I want for you, what I most want for you, my wish, my prayer for you, what I ask of you is what? What I ask of you. Is it okay to ask? Is it okay if we ask something? Okay, so what I ask of you specifically, each of you and you as a family, what I'd like you to tell your children, grandchildren about me if and when they ask. And the last thing I wrote is my blessing, because don't we have an opportunity to bless? Do you have to be a rabbi or a priest or a monk or a religious figure to bless? Or do we all possess the ability and the power and the grace to be able to bless? We do. We bless those people in our lives. We kind of put our hands over them, or we put our hands out to them, and we bless them. And a blessing is is just cherishing all of it. The unknown parts of it, the known parts of it, the gratitude, the love, the bumping heads. It's just blessing life for the goodness, for the mystery, for the unknowingness, for what's precious, for the miracles. It's a blessing. It's an overall blessing. So, these are the parts of the letter or the video. Thank you for helping us honor my mother, her life, spirit, and her passion for lifelong learning. I have to tell you the case closed story. My father passed many years ago, and my mother loved what was written on his stone. And she decided that when she passed, she wanted their headstones to be together. And she said, I want to think of something that we could write on my stone that's as beautiful as what your father has. So I said, Mom, I'll think about it, and we'll talk about it. We'll come up with something. Now, those of you who know my mother very well, when she would get into arguments and debates, my God, what she would be doing now with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is unthinkable. But she loved to get into debates and heated arguments and whatnot. And when she felt like it was enough, it had gone enough, far enough, the way she stopped the conversation, she would go, okay, case closed. That was her way of putting an end to it. In other words, we're not going to talk about this anymore. Case closed. So I said, Mom, I came up with an idea for what to put on your headstone. She says, what? How about case closed? And if you go to visit her at El Camino, you will see engraved in her stone, quote, case closed. And she said, I want to put that there so it brings a smile to everybody's face when they come and see me. And to know that I'm with them. I'm not really there, but I'm with them in heart and in spirit. And with that, I want to thank you so much for a wonderful evening, and we'll see you in a few months. Case closed.